Let me get the chart. First, Westone made the arcade game Wonder Boy. It was distributed by Sega, and the contracts meant that Sega owned the character and title Wonder Boy, but Westone owned the game itself. So while Sega was publishing versions of Wonder Boy on their consoles, Hudson made a version for the Nintendo Famicom. That one changed Wonder Boy out for a caricature of one of their own employees, and was released as Takahashi Meiji no Bokenjima. That game got a few tweaks and was released in the US as Adventure Island. Those games kicked off their own series, which I'll get back to in a moment. Westone made their own sequel to Wonder Boy for Sega called Wonder Boy in Monsterland. That's one of those games that was an enormous arcade hit in Japan and hugely influential, but didn't have as much impact elsewhere. Home versions again followed, and this time Hudson decided to use it as the launch title for the PC Engine, slapping a totally different license on it and calling it Bikurimon World. The third game in the series was Wonder Boy 3 Monster Lair. And the convenient thing for my sanity is, at least in Japan, the PC Engine version retained the Wonder Boy name. And then the third game in the series went straight to the Sega Master System and was titled Wonder Boy 3 The Dragon's Trap. And I know some of you are going, you've already had a Wonder Boy 3, but don't worry, this is Wonder Boy 3 Monster World 2. And of course the next game in the series would be Wonder Boy 5 Monster World 3. Now, for some unfathomable reason, when Hudson decided to port Dragon's Trap to the PC Engine, rather than do something sane like call it Dragon's Curse, which they did in the US, they wound up reusing the US title of Takahashi Meiji no Bokenjima, which is why Wonder Boy 3 Dragon's Trap on the PC Engine is called Adventure Island. And of course they did this while simultaneously reviving that series over on the Famicom. Takahashi Meiji no Bokenjima 2 releases just 2 weeks after this. And because this never ends, Hudson will bring that series to the PC Engine, calling it Shin Takahashi Meiji no Bokenjima, and in the US use the title New Adventure Island. So there's 2 different Adventure Island games on the PC Engine, but the 2 games are kind of second cousins to each other, and I'm going to have to explain all of this again in 235 episodes. Adventure Island starts where Bikurimon World ends, or I would say that if it wasn't for all of the license swapping. When you start playing it, you are a fully powered up hero at the very end of the previous game, whichever previous game that was. You have to fight your way through a few rooms, and then confront the final boss.
Time, monster! You don't belong in this world!
When you beat it, instead of getting the ending of a game, you get cursed, turning into a dragon. Then you have to walk out of the exploding castle. Don't worry, there's no time limit. And that's when the game properly begins. Adventure Island is a bit of a not today, Jeremy. It's an exploration platformer. I won't be using the M word this time. As you progress through the game, you'll defeat other dragon bosses, and then they'll curse you, changing you into yet another form. Initially you don't have any control over this, but eventually you'll get access to locations that will let you choose your shape. Each of these has a different set of abilities. I didn't unlock all of them while I was playing, because I wasn't speedrunning the game, but for a simple breakdown, you start out as the dragon, and its primary ability is to breathe fire. So it has a decent ranged attack, but its use of other equipment, particularly shields, is limited. Next up is the Tiny Mouse Man, who can stick to certain blocks and walk along the walls and ceilings. The Fish Man can do exactly what you expect, swim in the water. And then for the remaining 2, there's a Tiger Man who can smash bricks with a big swing, and a Bird Man who can fly but can't swim. These character abilities also act as the keys that you need to use in order to get further in the game. For example, you have to be able to climb bricks in order to get over this pile and enter the jungle. Button 2 attacks, which is usually a sword swing, and button 1 jumps, or swims, or flies. There are also magic weapons that drop from enemies that you can use. Once you equip one of those, you activate it by pressing down and hitting button 1, or jump. They don't use button 2 for that because many of your forms can do a crouch attack. Hitting the run button will bring up a status screen, and this is where you change out your equipment and activate those special attacks. You can also see your current attack power, defense power, and CP, which is a level based on your equipment and form that determines what shop owners will be willing to sell to you. The CP also increases as you collect stones, and how many of those you have is visible on the menu. For all of the special attacks, the ammunition is so limited that you're only going to want to break them out in special circumstances. Missing with them is a pretty significant loss, and they don't do a lot more damage than your regular attack, so I usually wind up sitting on them. Just one more big pile of consumables that don't get used. There's one more restriction on using them that makes them annoying, and that's how you can't switch your equipment in a boss fight. So when you enter a door and are confronted by a dragon, then it's already too late to pick out a special attack for them. The special attacks include a wave beam that shoots forward, an arrow that fires straight up, a whirlwind that you toss in a little arc and then it scoots along the ground, a boomerang that you throw, and if you catch it, then you can reuse it, and finally thunder, which hits all enemies on the screen. The other consumable item that you have are potions, and these kick in once you run out of health. They restore some health. Could be 1 heart, could be full hearts, you don't know. As for those hearts, which act as your life bar, you increase the number by collecting the big hearts that are hidden around the world. The first one is available in town before you start heading around to places, so you want to pick that up before you begin your quest properly. There's really only 3 types of shops in the game. Hospitals, where you can restore your health and potentially purchase potions. Taverns, where you get a password for continuing. And equipment shops, where you can purchase swords, shields, and armor. And as mentioned, which ones you can buy will depend on your CP, which will increase over the course of the game, so that's the way they handle the increasing power curve. To pay for all of this, enemies will drop money, which is what you'd expect, and very rarely they can also drop a small heart that will restore some of your health. One of my few problems with Adventure Island is that it's kind of difficult to restore your life, and when you die you restart back in town with no consumable items or stones. It's not that big of a deal, but some of the areas could take you 10 or 15 minutes to make your way through, and then if you die at the boss, you've got to do it all over again. But that's just video games from 1991 for you. It's far from the harshest continue system that I've encountered. Something useful to keep in mind as you explore the big open world is that you can't die by going off the bottom of the screen. There aren't fatal pits, unless they're full of lava or something. That means if you can go down, there's usually something down there. Just something to keep in mind while you're exploring. On the other hand, I do feel that a lot of the environments in Adventure Island are very linear, particularly when you enter the structures where you're approaching a boss. It also tends to be some of the more boring level design. Like here, where you wind your way slowly up this structure as the mouse man, and then go back down to the bottom and repeat again on the other side. A useful tip when you're doing that is that the shield blocks enemy shots. It's not just a decoration, so you'll need to use that to get through a lot of tight spaces. In Japan, Adventure Island has a bit of a reputation as the Lost Wonder Boy game, since the Master System version wasn't released there, and it took them until '92 to get the Game Gear port. I saw a whole lot of people who had to say, "Did you know this is a Wonder Boy game?" People seem to like it, it's just they really focused in on it being Wonder Boy. My own feeling here is, yeah, this is a fantastic game. It's a known classic. The real question is if Adventure Island is better than Wonder Boy 3 The Dragon's Trap on the Master System. And in terms of gameplay, I'd put them dead even. The graphics are a little bit better with Adventure Island, but not so much better that if you only had access to the Master System version, you'd really feel compelled to upgrade. There is, however, one difference that I think gives Adventure Island the edge, and that's the fact that the PC Engine controller has 4 buttons. You have to push a button on the console itself in the Master System version to get to the menu. So there you go. Adventure Island is the better version. But, like I said, you really can't go wrong with playing any version of this game.